Woo! What's going on, guys? Orms Forum coming at you today with another video. And today's video, we're going to be talking about training camp observations, day 2. I missed yesterday's. I couldn't get to it. I had some stuff going on, and I just couldn't get to make it a video. So today I'm going to do day 2, and then we have day 3 actually today as well. So I'm going to try and do a double dip. I'm going to get on that when I'm done this. So try and get as much information as I can. Again, shout out to guys like John Macaron, Eric Schlitt, Jeremy Reisman, Jeff Risden, Justin Rogers, all the guys that I try to go to get this information out. And let's get to it right away. So some day 2 action. This was yesterday. Like I said, I will get to day 3 hopefully later on today. Now some injuries. The big one, if you guys heard about it, yesterday we didn't hear about this, but we heard about it today going into day 3. But day 2, apparently kicker Michael Badgley tore his hamstring. So he's out for the season. You guys know the story about bringing in Jack Bates, the kicker from the USFL, and this was going to be, I think, an open kicking competition. Michael Badgley hasn't been a horrific kicker his entire NFL career. He's been a pretty steady guy. Probably better accuracy than Jack Bates. Apparently, he added some leg strength to his workouts, and had that strength, but tore his hamstring. You guys know Jack Bates, notorious for hitting those 60-plus yarders in the USFL with the Michigan Panthers, and was perfect today, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But the Lions, as we speak, are bringing in some guys right now. I don't really know. I'll kind of get to that in a bit, and I'll tell you one guy for sure who they brought in. But they have brought some kickers in, apparently 2-3 guys. So, and I'll tell you one for sure that I know of, and you probably already know it by now. But that's the big injury going on right now. You got some guys. DJ Reader's still out on the PUP list. I'll talk about him in a little bit too as well. No Christian Mahogany again, the offensive guard they took in the 6th round out of Boston College. He has an illness, so that's confirmed by Dan Campbell. The Badgley thing, talked about that with the torn hammy. But Jack Bates had a big day yesterday, apparently, man. He nailed on all 3 attempts in the first period of the practice. Longest was 50-plus yards, 50 yards to be exact. And then again in the second kind of level of practice, or the second period, as they call it, a quarter, or whatever you want to call it. He went 3 for 3 again. Hit 52, 43, and a 37-yarder. The 52-yarder went a little bit right, kind of dinged off the right upright, but stayed in course and went inside for 3. It was good. He's got a lot of strength. Apparently, he hit it so hard that when it nicked it, the ball still flew like 10 feet. So the guy's got obvious power. The accuracy issues can be there every now and then with him, especially outdoors. But, right now he's the guy for the job. But as I said, they're bringing in guys, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Broderick Martin, all eyes are on the big fella right now. He's getting an opportunity with Reader being out, spending time on the first team defense. Really big for him next to Aleem McNeil. He's just getting those first team reps, which is good. And then the 4-man front consisted of Broderick Martin and Aleem McNeil in the middle, and right in the interior, and then Hutch and Levi Onwuzurike on the edge. Yes, I know, defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike, he's a defensive tackle. But the Lions have been experimenting with this. This is kind of the first I've heard about this, and that's okay. But they're experimenting right now with the defensive tackles on the edge. Kind of explains why they went after Makai Wingo, an interior guy, but a smaller interior guy who can play some edge. And then they brought in another guy too. They signed a guy, and I'll get that guy too. German-born guy, defensive tackle David Botta. They brought him in, a 6'4", 295-pound defensive tackle, 29 years old, been in the league, hasn't really done much, probably a camp body, but they did bring him in, maybe a guy that can play a little bit on the outside too as well. But that's what they're doing. Levi, they're trying to get this kid going. A lot of injuries for him throughout his 3-4 year career. He's on the bubble. He's a bubble player. Holmes really loved him. So he was playing some defensive end, and we'll see what happens with that. Then they had Campbell and Anzalone as the linebackers. In the secondary, it was Melifonwu and Kirby Joseph starting at safety. The cornerbacks were Terrion Arnold and Carlton Davis, Davis being back. And then Amik Robertson, too, as well. Yeah, that too, I forgot to mention that. I should have mentioned that, man. We had a couple guys that were on that. We had a couple guys that were on that list. Yesterday was it the NFI list. It was Carlton Davis, DPJ, Amik Robertson, Traquan Smith. Apparently all four of those guys passed the test, passed a fit test or failed the fit test in the first one, but passed today or yesterday. You know what I mean? I'm a day behind, day ahead. So yeah, so the guys that were on that NFI list, like Davis, Donald Peoples-Jones, Amik Robertson, and Traquan Smith, they're all back. Okay, they're all back. It had to do with the fitness test, and they failed. Now they passed it, so they're back. So sorry guys, I'm all over the place. Cornerbacks: Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold at the cornerback 1 and 2, Amik Robertson at the nickel cornerback, and we'll explain a little bit later. Hopefully, get to it why Brian Branch isn't playing. He's kind of they're taking it easy with Brian Branch. No injuries, just kind of easing him in. And then rookie linebacker. Rookie cornerback Rakestraw got a little bit of attitude out there as well too, swatting the ball out of running back Zonovan Knight's hands. You know, it was a completed pass, but he's got the ball out. Zonovan's got to be a little bit more aware that there was a corner there, and then Rakestraw has a little bit of attitude, man, knocked that ball out of his hands, stopped any forward progress or anything. So you like that. And then Emmanuel Mosley had a really nice pass break up on St. Brown. He kind of had to make a decision, had to make a hard cut. He had to get to St. Brown, got there, and knocked down a pass. It looks like he's really he's healed up for those torn ACLs that he's had in back-to-back seasons. Coaches really took notice of it too, and they were hyped for it. More news too. Well, we got James Houston news. This is a big camp for James Houston. I've been talking about him for the past 2 days now. We all remember the 8 sacks in the 7 games that this guy had. Then got hurt in year 2, ankle. Now the Lions really want this guy to, Campbell really wants. He thinks it's going to be a very big camp for James Houston, and he wants him to be a little more versatile. Now, as a player playing that Sam linebacker role, he blew by Giovanni today with these, but then he had a little bit of trouble getting off a block on the next rep. That's going to be the James Houston in a nutshell. Personally, this is just me talking here as a fan. I'm a fan first and a YouTube guy second. I really like James Houston, but I think he's a one-trick pony. I'm not going to say that the Lions coaches are wrong for doing anything like this, but I think trying to make him more of a linebacker, like dropping in coverage, playing the run, I think it's a little bit of a stretch. Yeah, you can't just be a one-trick pony, for some coaches. And I think this regime is like that. They love that he can get to the quarterback. Don't get me wrong. It's a great perspective from being a fan and seeing that, sacks and everything like that. But in reality, too, he does need to be a little bit more versatile. He does need to be able to pass, drop back in coverage. He does need to be able to play the run a little bit better. He's that Sam linebacker role. He's that defensive end edge. He's not going to be a guy that's going to have his hand in the dirt in the NFL level much. He's going to be standing up a lot. He's a smaller guy, which a lot of these kind of rush ends are. He's not a true defensive end. So he's an outside linebacker / defensive end / edge. Got all kinds of names, all kinds of, you know what I mean? Like for this guy, he's a tweener. That's basically what he really is. He's a tweener. And I think it's going to be tough for him. I think it's going to be tough for him because he does one thing and he does one thing so well. I don't think he's a bubble guy. I think he makes his team easy because of his pass rush ability. But I think trying to make him into something he's not might discourage him. I don't know though. He's a kid that wants to learn. I hope the best for him. And I just think he's a one-trick pony. I just do right now. Hopefully hopefully I can put my foot in my mouth and I don't know what I'm talking about with this kid. And hopefully he becomes a better linebacker in like all 3 phases of the game and be able to run, stop the run, play the pass, and get to the quarterback. Hopefully he can do all that. But right now, he's a one-trick pony, and I'm okay with it. I just don't think this regime really just wants that, and that's fine. Because hey, what if guys go down, right? Like, what if Derek Barnes goes down? What if Matthew Betts is not what they think he is? So who knows? But on the Goff and St. Brown connection, still there. Nothing new to see here. They're looking really good out there. They did have a really nice completion from Goff to St. Brown. Arnold would have really apparently lit up St. Brown if it would have been pads on. You got to remember that, no pads. But Arnold was there. Incompletion to J-Mo for Goff on the next set. Anzalone in coverage. Why Anzalone's covering covering a wide receiver is kind of beyond me. That's weird. Third pass completion to Antoine Green. So Goff's doing his thing, and then Darius Fountain had a really nice pass from Sudfeld, deep ball. Sudfeld got most of the second team reps yesterday for day 2. And Hooker looked really sharp with the third team. Hooker needs to stack up good days, and that's good for him. Now doing work, you saw St. Brown and Gibbs, working on releases from the wide receiver position after practice. Gibbs will be more involved in the passing game this year. Ben Johnson's talked about it. Tim Campbell's talked about it. They really want to get him really involved in the passing game. He had a few drops last year. He was a rookie, obviously, man. He had to work on some of his routes. But like I've always said, this kid reminds me he reminds me of an Alvin Kamara. He's not as big as Alvin Kamara, but maybe like more of a Jamal Charles kind of / Alvin Kamara type. Jamal Charles, if you don't know who Jamal Charles was, go look up some Kansas City Chief highlights. He was an absolute animal at the running back position that played in the slot a ton. But I could see Jahmyr Gibbs doing that. Okay, so hopefully that's working, and you got St. Brown out there coaching these guys up. I guess a few guys joined St. Brown and Gibbs, and out there been trying to work at some wide receiver releases, which is great. And St. Brown out there coaching. St. Brown's going to be a coach one day. I tell you that right now. He will be. After his 15-year career with Detroit. 15 years. There you go. Be nice though. Then tight end James Mitchell, he's out here, man. Needs to be more consistent. Shane Zylstra will push him for tight end 3. There's a little competition out there. They got Parker Hesse out there, Sean McCann, former Michigan Wolverine, on the roster too. Those two guys are basically blocking tight ends. Shane could push James Mitchell for that tight end 3 spot. He's a very athletic tight end. He was a wide receiver in college, put up monster numbers in college. I think he even played a little bit in the CFL. I think it was his brother that played in the CFL. But Shane Zylstra is a very, very talented kid. He's a receiving tight end. That's what he is. And I think a guy like James Mitchell's kind of a little bit of both. Mitchell did have some miscommunication problems with Nate Sudfeld on day 2 as well too. So needs to sharpen that up a little bit. And then Caden Davis, the wide receiver they brought in, he was in the spotlight during spring training, in OTAs, making plays everywhere. Campbell wants consistency from these back end guys of the roster. And Caden Davis is one of those guys fighting for that wide receiver 5 spot, wide receiver 6, practice squad, whatever you want to call it. So he hauled in a really nice pass from Hooker down the sidelines and made another really nice grab on 7-on-7. So Caden Davis is just stacking plays. He's a guy that's in line for at least wide receiver 5 recognition. Then attendance, it was a star-studded event. Hulk Hogan was in the building promoting his Real American Beer. Not going to get into the politics of Hogan. I don't dislike Hogan. I never was really a huge fan of him to begin with. They've been doing his wrestling days, but he is a wrestling icon. You know what I mean? I was into wrestling huge when I was a kid, into my early to mid 20s. I was very, very big into wrestling. But I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I know a lot of people can't stand Hogan, with his comments that he's made in the past and stuff like that. I'm not affected by it. I'm not affected by it. I don't think he's a terrible person. I don't think he's a great person. There's been mixed feelings on Hulk Hogan being at Ford Field, Allen Park, whatever it's called. And I just know he's a wrestler. That's it. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. And then former NFL players, Will Compton, played linebacker for a couple teams, Tennessee being one of them for sure. And then left tackle Taylor Lewan, who was a former Michigan Wolverine player, played for the Titans, retired. We're at Allen Park today. They have a podcast called Bussin' with the Boys. It's a really funny and banger of a podcast. If I were you guys, I'd go check it out. Those guys are good. And then world champion boxer Clarissa Shields was in the house too. A Michigan native, I think. I think she's from Flint. She interacted with a few of the players. You saw some funny quips with her and Terry and Arnold. She was teaching some boxing lessons with St. Brown. She was hanging out with Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell made it a point to say hi to everybody too. So that was pretty cool too, bringing in some of those people. More news. The energy is through the roof, apparently, at Allen Park. They know they have the talent. And both the offenses and the defenses kind of going after each other. The truth is, like, the talking is evident. They're just, they're running their mouths at each other. And it's something that you want to see at a high level of competition, right? The competition is very high there. Nobody is backing down from anybody. And that's what we really like to hear. And then there was some Hutch versus Sewell moments. The best on the best. Our best O-lineman and our best defensive lineman. Hutch was like a man possessed, apparently. He was a man possessed. He recorded 2 sacks from both sides of the ball, right side, left side. Obviously probably beating Sewell on one and maybe Decker on the other. Not really sure who the guys were. They didn't really mention who they were, but then he opened up another sack by making a really nice inside move, bringing the tight end and the offensive tackle towards him. Something that he has done since his rookie season is take on double teams, and then it opened up a Terrion Arnold blitz that would have been a sack. So good to see that too as well. Hutch is just, he's on fire. He's on fire, and I think he's a defensive player of the year candidate. Not saying he's going to win it, but he's definitely a candidate. And then J-Mo, he's stacking days too. I guess he made a couple really big catches on day 2. There's one where he made one over the middle. It looked like Jack Campbell was trailing him, and I couldn't tell who the other guys were, but it was a gaggle of defenders. But Jack Campbell looked like he was on him for a second, which is bizarre too. He just looks locked in. He does look locked in. If you look at J-Mo from the first 2 years and now, he's filled out. He's still skinny. He's still a skinny kid, but you can see the definition in the muscle in his body. He's filling out, and they say he's faster. They say he's completely faster, looks stronger, looks more explosive. He's catching the ball with his hands. He's not letting the ball come to his body first. That's huge. So, J-Mo's locked in, bottom line. More Reader news. He was working with the trainers, which is good. Running up a training hill, which is pretty great. If you're running up a hill and you've got 2 blown quads, one blown quad from last year, one from a year or 2 ago as well. So that's a good sign that DJ Reader is back. He's healthy. They're just not practicing him right now. And then Davenport and Branch were only doing walkthroughs this day. Branch was seeing some safety reps, and Davenport is working with the reserve edge players at the moment, with the second team guys. So, they're easing these guys in. Then Gibbs, walkthroughs and individual work too. No team drills. Still dealing with that soft tissue injury. It's a hamstring, in my opinion. Seems really close though. You can see him doing some, like the drills. There's some video reels out there. You see Gibbs. He looks like he's moving pretty well, but they're being cautious, which they should. And like I said, working with wide receiver St. Brown too as well. Right after practice is a bonus as well. So he's got that energy. More Sam linebacker news. Barnes still Sam 1. Competition is already starting to heat up a little bit. Betts jumped up to the Sam 2 as well, and Houston went down to the Sam 3. Not a demotion, not a promotion for Betts or Houston, but just they're experimenting right now. That's basically what they're doing, and that's what you want to see. And then Ben Neiman, who's a linebacker, who's played for the Chiefs, I think the Titans. He's been on a few teams. They picked him up a few months ago. He had the green dot today. What that means, green dot means that's the captain. They get the mic. They get the calls from the defensive coordinator from the sidelines. And he had the green dot on the third team. On the second or third team. I think it's second team. On the second team. Something you want to hear. second, third team, whatever it was. My writing's so terrible, I can't tell if I wrote second or third. That's bad, but I think it's second. I don't know. Could be wrong. And then signings, like I said, they signed defensive tackle David Botta, 6'4", 295 defensive tackle, 29 years old, hasn't really done much in the NFL, can't body. Then they did bring back Matt Farniak, the offensive lineman, back in Detroit and on the reserve pup list. That means he has to miss 4 games. So he's back on the team, cleared waivers, whatever, and he's back on the team. So he was a guy that did play and started a couple games for the Dallas Cowboys. And then the kickers. I'm almost done, guys. This might be one of the last things I say. Yes, it is. Kickers available, okay? Like I said earlier, they brought in some guys. They did bring us, Campbell has already said, did see some names except for one guy. But guys that are available, this is from Jeff Risdon, so thanks for putting that out. Brandon McManus, who's kicked for the Jaguars. Randy Bullock, who's kicked for the Giants. Brett Maher is a kid that had a really nice start to his career. Then kind of fell off. He was missing all kinds of kicks, which was really weird. He's kicked for the Rams, and he had some big games for the Rams. Ryan Suckup, a veteran that's kicked for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mason Crosby, who's kicked for the Giants, and most notably the Green Bay Packers, who had a kind of a rough ending to his Packer tenure. So there's guys out there. Like I said, Campbell said that they already worked out a couple kickers. Who those guys are, I don't know. But one I know for sure. Andre Schmidt, spelled like SZMYT. It's Schmidt. I looked it up. I don't know if it's 100% right, but that's how they apparently pronounce his name. He's a USFL guy that played for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Okay, and personally, I think he was a better kicker than Jack Bates last year. Not saying that he should be the guy, but he was like an 81, 82% kicker. He was an 81 or 82% kicker at Syracuse. He played for the Orangemen in college. I think he holds the record for most 50-yarders too. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm sure. But I think I read that he holds some type of record for most 50-plus yarders at the college level at Syracuse. So that's it. They brought him in for sure. And I know a lot of Lions fans were talking about this kid, saying that he's the guy that they should have brought in because he was the better kicker in the USFL last year. He was. I don't know if he won any type of awards, but I know he was the better kicker. So that's it, guys. So we got competition. It's not just Jack Bates' job. He's got competition. They're bringing in guys. They're going to have to. They can't just have Bates kick everything. He needs some type of rest, too, as well. So that's it, guys. 22 minutes and change, going up to 23 minutes. Long one. I'm going to try and get that third day. That's today's day out there, too. Just waiting for more information. But thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button at the bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell up top. Don't forget to like, comment this video out. Send it to all your friends and family. I appreciate it, guys. Go Lions. One pride. Detroit Reserve, buddy. Boom. Let's go, baby.